press record. So we're going to be recording today's webinar just for people who don't make it here. So just letting you know, if you want to refer back to anything we cover, we will have a recording available afterwards. So hello everyone, my name is Cass Strakosch. I'm Head of Engagement and Learning at Good Things Foundation. Welcome to our session on how to promote your digital skills programs to people in your community. Also joining, we have my colleague Flo, who will say hello, wait for you there, and Yasmin. So you'll hear them chat in a little bit as well. So they're both in our communications and engagement team here at Good Things Foundation. So before I start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we're meeting today and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm joining from Wongal country here in Sydney. And Good Things Foundation supports action towards healing and reconciliation, including the Uluru Statement from the Heart. So if you'd like to join the chat, you can introduce yourself. Just make sure your settings to everyone so that everyone can see your introduction. And you can also use this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional owners and land that you're joining from as well. So we'll be using the chat today to cover questions. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to just pop them straight into the chat. We'll cover as many questions as we can in the webinar today. So you can use that chat panel to ask questions and we'll either respond live when we're talking or in the chat panel as well. So what are we going to cover today? Today we're going to talk about how you can reach new people and encourage them to attend your digital skill support events or sessions. We're going to cover what resources we have available to help you to promote your sessions. We'll go through a checklist, so when to do what, timing-wise, and we'll have a Q&A as well. And just a quick note, today we're going to use our Digital Sisters program as an example. So some of our examples will be talking more specifically about that program, which is our digital inclusion program that supports migrant and refugee women to get online more safely and confidently. But you can apply these tips and ideas to any digital skills sessions that you have. They're pretty universal. So we'll be using that program as an example, but keep in mind your own program and your own what you're keen to do when we cover through this content. And welcome to everyone who's just joined us. Please go ahead, introduce yourself in the chat panel. Just introduce yourself, name, location, organization, and if you'd like to acknowledge the country you're joining on in the chat panel, you can go ahead and do that as well. And we'll be using that chat panel today to ask questions. But before we do, we have a quick poll. Why are you here today? Just to learn a little bit more about you. So on your screen now, you should have a poll. So this will help us just to tailor the information that we give today. So your question is, tell us, why are you here today? And you can choose number one, because I'm in the Digital Sisters program and want to learn how to promote my sessions. So that's that program I mentioned just before. Your second option is because I want to learn some tips and trips to promote all my digital skills events and programs, or even non-digital skills ones. That's fine too. So that's option two. The next one, I want to do some digital skills sessions in the future and just getting ready, upskilling myself. And the last one, because it can be helpful to connect with my community. So those people who are just coming along to learn something new. So you can choose whichever one feels most right to you. Okay. Wonderful. So we've got people who have voted. So we end that. So it's about, well, 55-45. Half of you in the Digital Sisters program and want to learn some specific tips and tricks, and half of you want to learn some of this information for any program you're working on. So that's totally fine. My big tip before we get started, if you're introducing yourself in the chat panel, you need to make sure it says to everyone, not to hosts and panelists. Otherwise, no one else can see your comment, only we can. So if you're going ahead and using that chat panel to ask questions, do make sure it says everyone. Perfect. So let's jump straight in. As I said, if you've got questions, please go ahead and pop them in the chat and we'll cover as many as we can. But let's think about our first thing we're trying to cover today, which is all about reaching new people. Okay, so you might want to have in your head, especially those people who are here to learn about other programs and how to promote them, have in your head a group of people that you want to come to your next digital skills session. And then use our prompts to think through that scenario of how you might best want to reach them using our tips. So you might want to write down your people in a bubble in the middle of the page. You might want to write it in notes. Maybe you can keep it in your head. But if you do that activity while we're talking, you'll come out of it with a bit of a plan on how you're going to market your program. So that is our big tip for this webinar, beyond how to chat in the chat panel. Have in your mind now someone you might want to reach. So it might be a group of women you want to come to your digital skills program. It might be that you want some more over 50s to come to your Be Connected program in your local area. Have that idea in your head. So the first thing you want to do is work out who you're trying to reach and find them so you can talk to them. So some of these big questions, who, what, when, where, why, they're really useful when you're thinking about marketing. So think about who you are trying to reach. Is it any people over 50 in your community? That's quite a big group of people you're trying to reach. Can you be more specific? So for example, on the screen, our character here is asking, how can I reach young mums in my community? So that's who she's trying to reach out to. Then think about, where do they go? So where do they go that I know I will find them? And so this character is answering, they already come to my cooking classes. So she's worked out that she wants to talk to young mums in her community and she has a group of them that come to her cooking classes already. And how do you interact with them? Once again, they come to her cooking classes. She might send some emails and things to them. And a really important question is, what would they find interesting? So this is where designing your support programs and marketing your support programs kind of cross over, because you need to have something that people want to come to and that people will find interesting. And then you need to tell that information to them in a way that resonates to them and is relatable. So really think about who you're trying to support. What would they be interested in coming to? And where do they go in your community? Perhaps they all use the same local supermarket, and people look at the community notice boards quite a lot. So you might think, okay, that community supermarket's really important to my community. That's where they go. Perhaps there's a local gym that they go to. Perhaps everyone goes to the same markets on the weekend, or a lot of people that you're trying to go to a local market, a farmer's market. Really think about, who are these people, where do they go, and how do you interact with them already? And to answer the question, we are recording today's webinar, so you can come back and cover these tips. So now you've worked out who you're trying to talk to, who you want to come to your sessions. There's different ways that you can reach them and actually talk to them. So because we're talking about people who aren't that confident going online, they might be a bit fearful, perhaps they don't have ready access to a device, perhaps data affordability is a problem, so they really limit how much time they're spending online. It's really important to think about ways that you can reach them that don't always rely on online methods and that complement the online methods. So that's where telephone calls are really important. Can you get someone in your organization to give them a ring? It could be a volunteer, it could be yourself. Can you invite them by phone and have a personalized conversation? Perhaps you already have emails or newsletters that people get, and they do open emails. They might not be confident on social media, but they are okay at emails. So you might send it out in emails. Thinking about those ways that aren't online, could you post your membership? So perhaps if you have members, post them an invitation so they get something in the mail. So that could be really good. For example, if you have older people you're trying to come to and you've got a membership base that you want to come along to your events. The other one is posters and flyers at your existing activities or in your center. So if people are coming in and out of your organization quite a lot, having some posters up, having some flyers on the front desk is really useful. Standing up at the end of a session, existing activity, and mentioning your sessions and handing out a flyer is really useful. So you can see for this example on screen, our character realized that they're young mums who come to the cooking class. So she thinks she might give them a flyer at the next cooking class. And she remembered that they also use WhatsApp and have a WhatsApp group. So she's going to post in that WhatsApp group as well. So that's what she's going to do. Now, of course, like online options, just because someone isn't confident online or doesn't have all the skills they might need, they still might use online sources like WhatsApp, Facebook. They might see, some emails, or perhaps their friends and family are online and might refer them. So that's where things like social media, Eventbrite, things like that can be really helpful. So that's actually how you get the word out to people. Now, stop me if you have any questions. Lovely. So then we've worked out where your people are and who you're trying to reach and some of the ways that you have existing that you can reach them. A lot of those ways pretty low cost. If you have a grant with us, you can use grant funding to pay for marketing costs, and you can use that in your application pretty typically most of the time. So do have a think about that. But now you've got to work out, what do you say in your marketing materials or in your flyers or in your emails or on social media? So use what you already have available and what's familiar to people. If you've got a strong Facebook community, use Facebook. You'll reach people. People might need to see it multiple times in different ways to be convinced to come along. Make your materials engaging, fun, and relatable. Maybe you know that your community would really respond well to photos of other people who have learnt it, or maybe stories. Perhaps they love cartoons, or they want to have something fun, maybe a video. Maybe you can write in really plain English, or maybe you need to have translated marketing materials because your learners have English as a second language and feel more comfortable reading translated resources. So make it engaging, fun, and relatable to your audience. And can you make it sound interesting? So something I think about is, can you boil it down to one sentence, maybe two sentences? How can you say what people will get out of it and what you're doing? What's the point of coming in one or two sentences? And then once you get those one or two sentences, you can use it across lots of different things. You can use it in your emails, in your conversations, on your flyers. So really try and boil it down. Make sure you include some key details. So once again, what, where, when, and who. So what are you hosting? Where's it being held? When's it happening? And who do you want to come? So that's all pretty straightforward invitations, but actually it's really easy to forget one of them. So if you go through and just when you're reviewing your materials and make sure you have that info, you'll know that people will have the information they need to come. Cost is really important. All of our programs, we ask you to run for free. But if you don't tell people it's free, they won't know. And that can be a great option for people, especially people who are struggling on low incomes. They want to know that they can come for free. So make sure you put that nice and clearly. Contact and RSVP details. Depending on your community, they might be better than others at RSVPing to come along to things. But if you can encourage people to let you know if they're coming, it does make your life easier as a session planner, as an event planner, and it means you can give them reminders as well. So RSVP lists are useful. Depends on your community whether you think people will RSVP or not, but it is always useful to put a contact there, like a telephone number and an email, just in case people have questions or want to have a chat with someone in advance. Think about including transport and parking info. Are you close to a train station? Is there free parking on site? These types of things can help people just make it feel a bit more accessible. So do go ahead and include that kind of information if you can, in how to get to your place that you're going to. For Digital Sisters programs, you might want to include, if they're young mums with kiddies, what childcare info you have. Will there be someone on site? Is there a creche nearby or on site that you can drop people at? Are kids welcome? Bring them along. Things like that can help people to get over that barrier of going somewhere new with new people and just make it feel a little bit more inclusive. And what is the hook? What's the thing that you think people will want to come to? Going back to, can you make it interesting? Is it something they want to come to? So in the example following this character, digital mentor character in our little story we're telling here, she's gone to her cooking class with her young mums, and she has asked the question, want to learn how to keep your kids safer online? So that's a nice open question. We know it's a topic that lots of parents want to learn about. So that is the hook. And then when they come along, they can start with that topic, and maybe once they're interested, they can keep staying and learn more. So there's some key details. Now, of course, I said you can't ignore social media and online. It's a great way to reach referrers, family. Maybe your audience love social media but aren't confident using Microsoft Word, for example. So you can't ignore social media or online activities when promoting your events and sessions. Some useful things is to include hashtags. So, for example, Digital Sisters, if you're in our program called Digital Sisters, you might want to put your city name and suburb name in a hashtag. That's a way that people use hashtags to find out what's going on near them. So that's quite a useful one. Think about the timing of when you post on social media and your emails. If people are doing a school run and are driving around, maybe don't post at 3 p.m. But if you know people are commuting to work and are on the trains that you're trying to reach and they'll have an hour free in the morning, maybe post then or send your email then. So think about who you're trying to reach and when they might most likely be looking at their social media and or emails, and send them or post them then. And, give it a go. That's the good thing about things like that. The more you do it, the more you'll learn about the people you're trying to reach and when's the best time to reach them and what you can post that they're most interested in. So maybe they love videos but don't really read text only posts. They might ignore them. So the more you do it, the more you'll learn. All right, bonus tips, quick marketing bonus tips. Incentives work. So don't underestimate the power of a free lunch or morning tea. People will come. It also makes your session feel more inclusive and inviting and warm. So you want people to have a good experience when they're there. So offer a free lunch, offer morning tea, be upfront about it in your marketing. Maybe that's what gets them in the door. Lucky door prizes can work. Word of mouth is really important. Can you get your existing learners to bring a friend or tell the people they want to know about it? If they've had a good experience, they might naturally do this, but you can encourage people to spread the word. And we know that word of mouth is actually one of the most important ways that people hear about digital skills support sessions, as well as from staff and volunteers in local community organisations like yourselves. So let other organisations near you know about it. Let your networks know about it. Use community engagement, get out there and spread the word. when I said RSVP lists are really useful, it's because once you get people to say, yep, I'll come, you might want to do a reminder so they actually show up and doesn't get lost in their busy schedules. So we know a lot of people have a lot of things on, and this is one more thing they need to do. So let's make it easy for them to come along. Quick reminder phone call the day before, SMS, WhatsApp post, email. These things can help people to actually show up. You may yourself have gotten reminders from us about the webinar today, for example. And we do have resource kits that can help you. So just to round out our story on screen, we can see someone who came to that cooking class, got a flyer for a free lunch and learn, free lunch, and they're saying, let's tell Ava about this free class. So they're kind of using the posters and flyers you got and word of mouth to let someone else know. So did you have an idea in your head of who you're trying to reach? This is a question you can answer in the chat panel. If you want to share in the chat panel one idea you have of how you're going to reach people you want to in your digital support sessions, we can share amongst each other and build off your ideas. You might have great ideas or things that have worked for you before. Please go ahead and post in the chat panel what has worked for you before, or what are you now thinking of doing because you've heard these tips? Where are you going to go? Please go ahead and post in the chat panel so we can share it with other people who are here today. Attend. So we've got someone saying they're going to attend in the gathering or event. Yes, go to where people are, have conversations with people, maybe hand out some flyers. That's a good one. We've got someone saying they're going to go meet people where they gather. Yes. So perhaps they're coming in for morning tea, or, you know, at the Senior Citizen Centre. Excellent idea. Dropping off flyers at the local Senior Citizen Centre if you're trying to get some more seniors to come along in your local area. Great ideas being shared there in the chat panel. Someone else is saying that they're trying to reach out to migrant and refugee women in their city. So they've been working with other local support groups and organisations who are already working with them and encouraging them to spread the word and get people to come along. Wonderful. Flyers in shopping centres on the notice board. Yep, that's a handy one. Speaking about it at the end of other sessions or other meetings where people are gathering. Wonderful. Excellent. Well, I'm glad some of those tips were useful and have those ideas. So I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Flo, who's going to talk you through resources. So we gave you lots of ideas and we actually have a bunch of resources ready to help you to do them. So Flo, do you want to have a talk a little bit?
Yes. So for the Digital Sisters program, we have created a few resources for you. If we can go to the next one, Cass. You can see that we have an extensive guide with all the tips and tricks that we have been talking today, and with some wording that you can use when posting on socials or sending emails. We have printable materials, posters that you can use, social media designs in different formats. In some of them, you can add your logos. In some of them, you can just download and use it. And we have, if we go to the next one, a participation certificate. That is something that is really useful for you. You can print it and give it to your attendees. So it's a really good gift that you can give them and invite them to participate in other sessions that you might have. Also, in the next one, we have other resources available. This is for anyone participating in any Be Connected program. We have a lot of resources there. There are our logos. We have social media mockups that you can use. There's printable materials, flyers, and posters that you can use. So this is available in there for all of you. And you can also order a few materials. If you need, you can use it and order to promote your sessions. And there's other useful resources that you can use. This is Canva. Maybe some of you are already using Canva. Canva is free, or they also have a paid option. It's a program that we can use to create designs. And also now they have a really good translation option. So if you create a design, you can add a text, and you can, if you go to the magic switch in there, you can choose the translation function, and you can translate for any language that you want. So it's also another useful thing that you can do. I'm gonna post now in the chat panel the links for the marketing resources for the Digital Sister and for the Be Connected programs.
Wonderful. And you can get, I think Flo mentioned it, if you're running Be Connected, there's even materials you can order and get posted to you for free, including those translated resources. So that's another helpful one if you're here and running Be Connected programs. So Yasmin, you're going to tell us a little bit about how you can use the local media and tell stories to help people come along.
Yep. Hi, everyone. So my name's Yasmin. I am the Communications and Advocacy Manager for Good Things Foundation. So I looking at the names of people who have joined it, I've actually spoken to a few of you there, so that's fantastic. So as you know, obviously Digital Sisters, the Digital Sisters program is quite specific, and there's some messages there I'd like to get through about Digital Sisters, but I'll also be talking about how to tell your story from a sort of broader point of view. So why tell your story? You've listened to Cass and Flo, you've got resources, you've found the right people, you're running digital skills programs in your local community. Why do the extra work to share your story? So I guess this is something, you have to ask yourself and ask the organization and the people around you. A few of the reasons why is, number one, is to raise awareness about what your organization's doing, because in future that could also make it easier for you to reach the people that you need to reach. So thinking about the future, if you tell your story now and that story reaches someone in need, or a funder, or a member of the government, a stakeholder, whoever it is in the community, through the various different channels of the media, you're raising awareness that you exist. The services that you run are actually available, and there may be some people who find that story and it really does touch them. It is the motivation for them to contact you, and even if they're not involved in this current program, for them to get in touch with you in the future and perhaps change their lives for good through the digital skills services that you offer. What's in it for a person to tell their story? So one of the things I'll be contacting some of you about is one-on-one information about how to share your story. I am looking for specifically for Digital Sisters, but this is an open offer to everyone. I'm looking for case studies for people that you work with, digital learners, who are either at the beginning of their journey, in the middle, or at the end, or anyone that really wants to, talk about why they need digital skills, and why this is an important issue facing your community in Australia. So, for example, I've spoken to a few of you here, and speaking to a few of you after this session about, when you do run your digital skills sessions, and you've got some people who you think, they've got really interesting stories. So taking the example of Digital Sisters, you may have some migrant and refugee women who have had an incredible journey to get to where they are today. There's a real dire need for them to talk, to learn English, perhaps, as well as digital skills, so that they could be a valued part of society and really participate and get the most out of their settlement journey here. Why would someone who is busy running a family, participating in digital learning programs, why do they need, or what's in it for them to tell their story and go in front of the media? Really, it's about, there's some people that may not want to tell their story, and that's fine. But if you come across people who may have this sort of sense of obligation or a sense of duty, or a real interest in communicating what's happened to them, this is a story. So, for example, there will be some people, let's say migrant refugee women, who may not want to talk about what they've been through and why digital skills is helping them. That's fine. There will be some people that may want to. And what's in it for them? They get to help other people by sharing their story. Maybe they may be anonymous. They may not mention their name. They may not even have their photo taken. It might be a real quick grab in the media about why they're participating. But when someone shares their story, they may get something of value intrinsically, where they feel that they are, they have a voice, they're being heard, and that's really quite moving for a lot of people. So as I speak to some of you over the next few weeks to see if anyone is interested in telling their story, I'd love for everyone just to look out for those sorts of case studies, we call them. So digital learners who may strike you as people who might want to help others, who may want to raise awareness, or who may have had an interesting journey up to now, who may want to talk about what they're doing and what they've learned to help other people. I guess when do you tell this story? So the question there's so many different times to tell someone's story. Is it at the end of the digital skills program when they've already learned something? Is it at the beginning? And what makes a good story? These are questions that I would say refer to other people, because there are so many different answers. That's dependent on your organization, and that's dependent on your local media, your national media, and that's also dependent on you and on the individual. So often journalists are talking to people and someone will say, I can't speak English, I'm not a great person to talk to tell my story, there's nothing special about me. And, sometimes organizations say, we're not doing anything different. This program's been happening for years. It's not really of interest to the media. And I think sometimes we look past stories day to day. There's a sense of complacency, or there's a sense of this is just what we do. And yet what you do to other people may actually be considered as remarkable. And when someone thinks, the work that you're doing is remarkable, people get inspired, people will contact you. It's great for funding in the future. Telling your story can also, I guess, be, you can have a case study there in order to, promote why it's important that the government funds you in a year or in 2 years. You're capturing the work that you do, and that's really, really important. So I would say if you're not sure about whether you've got a story there, I'd say just please contact me. We do understand that with a lot of people, the first answer is going to be no. They're not going to want to talk to the media. That's fine. So the idea is always about building trust, especially with vulnerable populations, and meeting the person where they are at. So if someone is comfortable talking on the phone, but they're not comfortable being in front of a camera, or they've got issues at home and they don't want their family to know, perhaps, or their community or their culture to know that that they are sharing their story, that's okay too. So my pitch, I guess, to everyone is to just contact me. I will go through the obstacles of storytelling. I will talk about what their story is, and people are always welcome to hear the information and then say, it's not for me. But there is a chance it may be right for them. And, raising awareness of someone's story may change the people's lives of the people who consume the story. But it is also quite meaningful for the individual, especially if in the case of Digital Sisters, they've gone through things to get to where they are today. It's an incredible achievement and a little bit of a celebration of their success in learning digital skills. So please, if anyone wants just to talk about what the stories might be, maybe the obstacles of getting the people that they work with to talk or to open up, please get in touch, because there might be something that you don't think is very significant, or it's not a big story, and I think it's remarkable, and the media out there thinks it's absolutely fantastic. Or there might be something that your gut instincts say, this person's really special, I think they could do something with their story and change lives. So please get in touch. Thank you.
Thanks, Yasmin. And we've just shared Yasmin's contact details in the chat too. So if you have any questions, once again, do feel free to pop them in the chat panel. Very happy to answer them. And I guess there's something for you to think about. Do you have someone who's come along to your session who you think would be great at telling their story? You don't have to share it with us, just something to think about in terms of using real stories to let people see people like them and make your programs feel relatable. So I guess we're now talking about timing. When do you do this outreach? And really, the truth is, it never really stops. But there are some key times when you can really have a great impact in terms of helping people to come hear about what you're doing and come to the event or your digital skills session. So we know things like word of mouth take time. So the sooner you can start talking about what you're doing, the better. So we suggest starting 4 to 6 weeks ahead. So you have time for your community to hear about it. If people only come into your center once a month, you need to have your things ready the month prior, ready to talk about the things that are happening next month. So, and a lot of community organizations work on that once a month or once a fortnight type visit. So 4 to 6 weeks is a great time to start having things up in your organization. So having things about your event or your digital skills session on your website. So if people hear about it and they just want to check it out, they can have a look. Do background stuff like create a spreadsheet or however you are going to capture RSVPs and make sure your team know it exists. So if you have a reception team who are different to your digital mentoring team, make sure they know how to capture people who are interested in coming onto your RSVP list. Start talking about what you're doing on social media and send out your first invitation by email. Perhaps you have a monthly newsletter that goes out. Make sure it's in that month before newsletter or email. And start putting up posters and flyers and handing them out. So that's 4 to 6 weeks-ish. So starting to think about that kind of time frame. Then we get a bit closer. So 2 to 4 weeks. So within the same month that you're going to be hosting your thing that you want people to come to. So this is when you start reviewing how your event registration numbers are going. Are people signing up for it? Are people you're talking to saying, yep, I'll come? Just seeing how you're going, gauging interest, and then you'll know whether you need to do a lot more marketing to get people to come, or if you're going really well and actually you're at capacity. So maybe you need to add an extra session. So monitoring your event registration or your session registration numbers is quite useful as an organizer. Doing a ring around. As I said, if you've got members you want to come and you have a volunteer who doesn't mind having a chat, or if you yourself don't mind having a chat, just doing a simple phone call and personal invitation. So I might ring up Yasmin and say, hey, Yasmin, we've got this awesome lunch coming up. I thought you'd be really interested in it. Would you like to come along? We're going to be talking about how to keep your kids safer online. Is that something you can come to? That kind of direct invitation and chatting with someone is a really great way to bring up some more interest and get people to book in. Once again, you can put up posters in your local area. I know people in the chat were saying that they would like to, go out to where people are. So go put things on notice boards, supermarkets with permission. Don't forget that. Handing out flyers, going to your local markets, maybe putting some flyers in your senior citizen centre. That's a great time to do it. You can post up to twice a week in social media, especially if it's a point in time event. You know your community best, so you'll know how much is too much or too little. Send an email, another reminder out, make sure you book in, make sure you're keeping it kind of timely. In 2 weeks, we have this awesome session, make sure you don't miss out. So you can see our favorite characters back on screen here and having a personal conversation. So they're making sure they're having that who, what, when, where, why conversation with people in person. So it says, hi, are you free on Wednesday? We're running a free lunch and learn. And the person, of course, says, yes, book me in, which is, of course, how every conversation we have goes, obviously. So then we come up, so you've got your reminders, you're actually having your session, but there's some little marketing things you can do to make sure people come back. So this might be helping people to feel really comfortable and confident, making it a really welcoming environment, offering people a cup of tea when they come in, or a cup of coffee or a bit of cake, helping someone, introducing them to one other person in the session if they're brand new, so they have a buddy and they're not by themselves. All these small things can help people to feel comfortable and confident when they get there, so they might come back again, because we know people come back time and time again for social connections in addition to digital skills. So think about how you can make it a really nice atmosphere when people come. You can also take photos with permission, of course, that you can share after the event to show real people learning real things and having real fun. And then someone can say, oh, if they can do it, maybe that's something I can do. It makes your session suddenly feel real and relatable if you have real photos. And at the end, or make sure you tell people before they leave about follow-up sessions. Perhaps you can even book them straight in so that they can come back and you've got your RSVP list starting to be generated already. So that's a really helpful one. Tell people about follow-up sessions at the end and book people in before they leave, and capture contact details. So a couple of days prior, you can give them a reminder phone call or text or WhatsApp and say, hey, remember, you said you'd come back. You're still keen, and get people that way. So you can see our characters on screen at that cooking class saying, have a great class next week too. We come back, please. So that's why I said it never actually ends. Okay, and then after your session, as I said, follow up with attendees and book them back in. Perhaps you captured people's details when they came in the door. You can give them a ring and say, hey, we've got this coming up. You can promote other things. You could post them an invitation, post to social media and share through your newsletters about all the awesome work you're doing, so people can see people like them doing something that they might like to do. So you can go back to having those conversations. Hi, you free on Wednesday? Want to come to our lunch and learn? And have those conversations again. So they're some of our tips, and you want to do all of this without being pushy. I think it's the key thing. You don't want to be so in people's faces that they're turned off and don't want to come back or talk to you ever again. But it's like working things, encouraging messages into your conversations. So if people aren't ready or don't want to, totally okay. Not everyone is ready to learn at the same time as everyone else. But it's about how can you incorporate encouraging, positive, inclusive, really making people feel really welcome and safe in the space into your outreach, so that people might want to come back and do it again. So our last poll of the day. Do you feel more confident now to promote your sessions? So we'll get, Flo will put the poll up. Your choices are yes, definitely. Choice number 2 is I'm not sure, but I learned new things. And the third option is no, it's too difficult for me. Marketing is not for me. So do you feel more confident now to promote your sessions? Yes, definitely. Option 2, I'm not sure, but I learned new things. Or option 3, no, it's too difficult for me, not for me. Excellent. A bit more voting. Lovely. Oh, that's fantastic. No one said no, it's too difficult. Phew. Totally okay if that's what you're feeling underneath. 2/3 of you, 3/4 of you said yes, definitely, and 1/4 of you said I'm not sure, but I learned something new. Wonderful. I'm so glad you found today helpful. Because now it's time for you to ask questions. So we'll have a bit of time left. Really, I think it's about being genuine in your interactions and encouraging and positive and helping people to think that this is something that they can do. Describing what you're doing in ways that make sense to people. Maybe people don't know what digital skills are, but they want to keep their kids safer online. So thinking about how you're phrasing things and how you're letting people know, and so it's relatable and makes sense to people and is in their own language and words that they use every day. Any last questions? Final questions? I haven't seen any come through that we haven't answered yet. People are chatting a little bit. Looks like we've answered all the questions in the comments. Okay. Wonderful. So if you're in the Digital Assisters program, do go ahead and get in touch with Duray-Chevard or Julie. You're very welcome to. You can get in touch with us on our phone number, even if you're not in that program, but in any of our programs, you can give us a call on 02 9051 9292 or email us connect@goodthingsfoundation.org. We're very happy to have a chat and help you out as much as we can. We also have a Facebook group. So if you're not part of our Network Partner Facebook group yet, that is a great way to share amongst each other with other people doing programs like you, and see their marketing materials, see what they're doing, and ask them questions so you can get advice from people doing very similar work to you in that Facebook group. So you can either talk to us or talk to them there. Any final questions? I'm going to stop sharing now. Wonderful. Well, look, thank you so much, everyone, for coming along today. Really appreciate you coming. Really happy to hear that you've learned something new. We're always very happy to share any insights and information we have with you that makes your jobs a little bit easier so we can help more people feel safer and confident going online. So big thanks to everyone and good luck for your programs. Talk to you soon.